Carolyn Dube here. What's the play for today? Well, today I'm playing thanks to my muse's inspiration. Now, she's kind of in one of those what I call an A-team kind of moods. So, yeah, you'll have to see in the video why I call it an A-team kind of mood. And I'm also going to be sharing with you some of my tips and tricks for stenciling. Like when you're putting words on, how do you get it spaced and lined up without having to use anything scary like a ruler or, I don't know, take time to be precise? I'm going to share with you at the end of the video my shortcuts for how I go about lining this up and how I keep from smearing paint even when I'm stenciling letters where there are wet letters nearby. I was in the garage and this piece of wood that was scrap in there totally grabbed my attention as an awesome size to make some sort of mixed media mail kind of wall hanging type of thing. I sanded the edges, I gessoed it, and now I'm putting mail art kinds of words all over it. What I'm using is Inca Gold by Viva Decor, and I've got like a baby wipe on my finger there, and I'm just dipping it in and rubbing that stuff around. The stencil that I'm using is called Mixed Media Mail, and it's available over at Stencil Girl Products. And I'm just really feeling the whole mail art vibe. You know, I want to bring in some junk mail. I mean, that's totally where I started this from. That was my plan, the goal. And I want to start out with some metallic, shimmery, shiny words, because to me, that's what the Inca Gold brings, is this wonderful metallic to it. And I'm just going to rub it in. You can see how in some places it's thicker than other places, because that's basically where there was more on the baby wipe in my finger, or I worked it in a little bit more. I don't want everything exactly the same back here. I want some variety. I want things overlapping. I want things to be imperfect. I don't want it to look absolutely, well, perfect, hence the word imperfect. So I'm just going to keep filling in any blank spaces. I'm going to put parts of words. I'm going to put pieces and parts here, basically until I've got this whole thing filled in. Now keep in mind that I have a plan in my head. I know exactly where this is going, or at least that's what I'm pretending. So now that I've got the Inca Gold on there, now it's time to bring in some more color, because you know there's going to be more than just one color involved in this. So I'm just grabbing some acrylic paint and I'm painting it around things. Again, remember I said I had a plan? Well, it's at about this point that the plan is starting to head out the window. Yeah, it doesn't take long for my plans to completely shift and change. Is this a horrible thing? Is this terrible? Nah, just consider it an oops if I don't follow my plan. And I'll tell you a little secret. Basically, I almost never follow the plan that I start out with, but it just feels really good to me that I start out with some kind of plan. All these bright colors, all this wonderful shimmer from the Inca Gold totally has me thinking spring now. So I'm going to bring in some flower stencils and masks that were created by Ray Missigman over at Stencil Girl also. So I put that stencil down and now I'm just taking that dirty old baby wipe that I've had and I'm just going to pull up some of the paint, leaving the shape of the flower behind. Now, I don't really have a plan at this point, but I have a sneaky suspicion my muse does, and she kind of reminds me some days of Hannibal Smith from the A-Team. You know, at the end where he would say, if you're an 80s kid, at the end where he would go, I love it when a plan comes together, with that cigar in his mouth and that, you know, of course, why wouldn't this have worked out, even though it seemed ridiculous at some point? I kind of think that's my muse's attitude some days. So even though I'm not sure where this is going, I'm going to totally trust in the process and that muse, because every oopsie is really an outstanding opportunity presenting suddenly that will get me to an end result that I am very happy with. Well, these flowers, they needed a little more sparkle because I'm in the mood for sparkle, I guess, with spring today. So I grabbed some of the Viva Decor's 3D stamping paint, and I am just dipping my brush in there to put a little bit of metallic shimmer around it. Now, as I'm doing this, am I doing this very precisely? Am I thinking really hard? Am I carefully positioning that paintbrush? Absolutely not. These are whimsical, fun flowers that Ray created, and I'm going to stick with that vibe, and I am just tracing over it with a little bit of that 3D stamping paint. Well, now with all those words, I'm going to cover a bunch of them up. Not every one and not completely and totally, but I'm going to go and just put some white paint over them here and there, pushing some of them back, covering some of them up, and letting some of them show. Now, this is one of the big reasons why I loved mixed media. And by the way, don't let the term mixed media make you think, oh, there are rules to this. In my opinion, if you can mix things together and they're a media, it's mixed media. So it takes more than one to mix, in my opinion. So if I've got two or more supplies, I call it mixed media. And to me, that means I can do whatever I want. I can put on as many layers as I want, and there aren't any rules that I have to follow. Because I don't really like having to follow rules. I'd really rather just kind of do whatever I feel like on whatever I'm painting, making, art journaling, creating, etc. Well, butterflies say spring to me like no other creature. And I'm going to get a few of these butterflies right on this going around the flowers. I want to kind of curve with the flowers. I'm bringing in this butterfly journey stencil that I created for Stencil Girl. And as I'm putting these down using the same technique with the Inca Gold from earlier in the video, I'm also picking and choosing which butterflies I want to put where. It's not like I have to keep everything in the exact order that it's on the stencil. I can pick and choose what I want. That way I fill in this board of springness just the way I want it. By this point in the video, you've probably figured out that I'm pretty comfortable making mistakes. I mean, you can call them mistakes. I call them oopsies, but really, the old me used to call those things mistakes. I had this plan and I didn't stick with it, so now I'm a quitter. And then as I'm putting things on, I don't know exactly what I'm doing with them. I don't have an exact plan. That means it can't be any good. And then as I change my mind, if I put some paint on and take some paint off, that means I've screwed up because I'm supposed to do everything perfectly right the first time. Well, that was the stressed out old me that didn't feel the joy in creating. I wanted to, I was drawn to it, but I didn't always feel it. New me does not have that problem. I am a-okay with those mistakes. In fact, I welcome them. I call them oopsies, outstanding opportunities presenting suddenly, and I've basically rediscovered how to let myself play. Now, if you'd like to know some of the specific ways that I helped myself rediscover play, how I dive in, and also get an introduction to mixed media and my approach to it, I've got a free workshop for you called Permission to Play, totally free, and it's over on the website at acolorfuljourney.com. Well, now I've got butterflies all over this board, and I'm ready for some words. Well, I said words, but really what I mean is one big word. I want the word spring right in the middle here, and I'd like it to look centered. And does it have to be perfectly, engineering level centered? No, but kind of centered. So what I'm going to do is take the word and find the middle of it. If I have an odd number of letters, that's best, but of course the word I'm using does not. So I'm going to divide the word in half, and then I put the ing, so at the one half of it, I'm going to do that first, and I get that, and then I'm going to do the other half, and that way it keeps things from getting too long or too off center by working from the middle out. Now, you've probably noticed I'm not letting anything dry in between these. I'm using some of the 3D stamping paint on a cosmetic sponge, but notice how I place this stuff down as I'm going straight down. There's no sliding side to side here. I can get away with a lot of stuff if I just put my stencil straight down. Now, the other thing I'll do is sometimes I will hold the edge of the stencil up. So notice how I'm kind of holding that side up. That way that part of the stencil doesn't touch the wet paint that's already there. Now again, there's a crazy thought I could get out a heat gun and dry it, or I could let it dry in between, but I'm just not that patient. I'm just going to make sure that I work carefully, and with a mixed media background, even if a little bit of paint transfers here and there, it's going to be considered part of the look, and it's going to be a bonus, a benefit, an added layer to it. Now I can leave it just the way it is right now, and I have to admit I was kind of on the fence, but I decided I'm going to bring in a paintbrush and dip it right in that same paint that I was using to do the stenciling, and I'm just going to go over it, and I'm going to close up any of the gaps on the letters. That way maybe somebody might even think I hand lettered this or something, but with my handwriting there's no way I was going to hand letter this. Well, thanks for joining me for today's play. If you've enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you think you know somebody that would enjoy a little bit of play in their day, I'd so appreciate it if you shared this video with them. Want even more play, like exclusive videos and downloads and things like that? Well, I've got those waiting for you with my newsletter. You can find out all about it at acolorfuljourney.com. Thank you so much for letting me be a part of your colorful journey.